3 men attacked her, leaving her helpless, but an amazing Italian mafia boss transformed her life. Emily Thompson had always believed in the power of healing. As a dedicated nurse, she spent her nights at the local hospital, deftly bandaging wounds and soothing fears. But that belief shattered one fateful night when 3 men forced their way into her life, leaving her vulnerable and powerless. Panic coursed through her veins like adrenaline as she replayed those moments of sheer terror, the sense of control slipping from her fingers like sand. How could she care for others when she couldn't even defend herself? The questions tormented her, gnawing away at what little confidence remained. Returning to work became an exercise in torment. The fluorescent lights hummed above her like a constant reminder of her fear, their glare exposing the raw edges of her psyche. Familiar faces became cold shadows, each patient seemed to reflect her own fragility. Anxiety coiled around her like a tightening vice, squeezing away her resolve. Was she capable of the compassionate care she had always given? Should she even be on the front lines of caregiving when she now felt like a shell of her former self? Her children, how could she shield them when she felt so broken? Thoughts raced in chaotic whirlwinds, heart pounding against her ribcage, choking her breath as she found herself retreating into the anxious quiet of her apartment. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Then Giovanni Moretti entered her life like an unasked-for miracle, bringing the tang of hope and danger intertwined. The charismatic Italian exuded strength, his reputation as a mafia boss cloaked in layers of benevolence and respect. Giovanni's restaurant, La Bella Vita, was known for its exquisite cuisine but also for its whispers of under-the-table dealings. Emily felt the weight of moral apprehension. Could she align herself with Giovanni without sacrificing her values? But desperate times called for desperate measures. How else could she reclaim her sense of purpose? With every hesitating step into the bustling kitchen, a flicker of something more, a hidden passion for culinary arts ignited, yet the shadows of doubt loomed larger. As her culinary skills flourished under his mentorship, Emily wrestled with the allure of this newfound path against whispers of community judgment. Life shifted upside down, each compliment stung with the reminder of the vulnerability she fought to bury. Was she simply trading one life of chaos for another? The rival gang threatening La Bella Vita began to seep into her world like toxic fog, further entrenching her fears. What would the consequences be for her and her children? The intricate balance between rising power and overwhelming fear felt like a tightrope walk, one misstep leading her back to darkness. Every day was a question. Could she confront those who had left her shattered? The gnawing doubt pushed her to the brink as she struggled against the pangs of helplessness. Giovanni stood as both a guide and a looming shadow, his support a dual-edged sword. Emily could feel the weight of her past pressing into her future, the ghosts of her fear whispering in her ear. Would she rise and defend the life she was building, or would she succumb to the paralyzing weight of her anguish? As the storm inside her raged on, one thing was painfully clear: this was just the beginning. Emily woke each morning more exhausted than the last, the remnants of her sleepless nights wrestling with the echoes of her fears. The kitchen became both a sanctuary and a battleground. Every chop of the knife, every simmering pot brought forth a challenge. It was a duality she felt deep within her soul. Giovanni's steady presence beside her, while comforting, reminded her that the stakes were woven tightly into the fabric of their lives. With each passing day, her culinary skills flourished. She unleashed her creativity, painting dishes with vibrant colors that reflected her shifting mood. Customers praised her food, and their compliments began to chip away at her paralyzing doubt. Yet, the same hands that crafted exquisite meals still trembled when faced with memories of that night. What did it mean to reclaim one's life? Could cooking truly shield her from the ghosts that haunted her? The restaurant bustled with life, laughter resonating against the walls of La Bella Vita. Emily found herself increasingly drawn to Giovanni's charisma. His gentle but firm way of speaking ignited a strength she didn't know lay dormant within her. He shared stories of resilience, of having faced his own adversities in a world painted the shades of danger and loss. She couldn't help but admire him, not only for his culinary excellence but for the poise he maintained amid chaos. One blustery afternoon, whispers turned into something louder, an imminent threat. Emily learned that the rival gang, those shadows inching closer, planned to disrupt La Bella Vita during Friday's peak dinner service. Her heart raced at the thought. She was the unexpected pivot in this layered conflict. Giovanni had invited her into his world, yet uncertainty gripped her. Was she ready to confront that danger head-on? As the clock drew closer to the storm, she found herself pacing the kitchen. The rhythmic tapping of her shoes against the tiled floor echoed her turmoil. What would she do if faced with menacing figures who had marked her as a target? The old Emily would have been paralyzed, crumbling under the weight of fear. But the new Emily stirred, emboldened by her growing talents. Giovanni noticed her preoccupation, his sharp gaze catching hers. You cannot let fear dictate your life, Emily. You've learned to transform ingredients into art. You can do the same with your fears. The potent weight of his words settled within her. She realized he wasn't simply a mafia boss, he was a mentor, pushing her toward empowerment. Over the next few days, Emily began planning not just for the Friday service but for a potential confrontation. She wanted to harness her skills, to turn her passion for cooking into a weapon against fear and anguish. Every plate she prepared for the restaurant had become a reminder of her commitment, not just to culinary excellence but to reclaiming her confidence in a world that felt wildly unpredictable. The day arrived, and her heart raced with an anticipation she had never expected. She had resolved to stand firm, not just as a chef but as a woman defined by her actions. Facing the gang members who had once shattered her life felt inevitable. The thought sent shivers down her spine, but there was no escaping the reality. Tonight, the stakes would be higher than she ever envisioned. Would the strength she had nurtured be enough to silence the whispers of her past? As she donned her apron, determined to face what lay ahead, Emily felt the tide of change swell within her. The moment had come to embrace the storm or retreat. With a deep breath, she stepped into the chaos of the kitchen and the world outside. She was ready to face whatever awaited her, and in the depths of her burgeoning courage, a new challenge approached as shadows loomed closer. Would she be prepared for the confrontation that awaited? Emily's heart raced as the familiar hum of La Bella Vita enveloped her. The chatter of patrons filled the restaurant, blending with the clatter of pans and sizzling of ingredients. But beneath the surface of that vibrant atmosphere, tension prickled like static electricity. The night loomed heavy with the threat that had been so unceremoniously disclosed to her. She stood at her workstation, battling the whirlpool of adrenaline surging within her. With every chop, each slice against the cutting board was not just an act of preparation but an assertion of her resolve. Tonight, she would not hide behind her fears but confront them, even if it terrified her to the core. Giovanni moved through the kitchen, orchestrating chaos with effortless grace. He caught her eye, and for a fleeting moment, Emily felt a surge of connection, the kind that transcended the dark presence that threatened their sanctuary. Tonight, you showcase your strength, Emily. Cook with your soul. His voice held a promise, a belief in her that she had yet to fully embrace. She nodded, feeling the weight of that trust settle in her chest. This was more than cooking, this was a path to reclaim her narrative. As she focused on her work, she allowed the anger and fear to boil within her and transform into something tangible on the plate. She prepared the special for the evening, risotto colored bright with saffron, garnished with sprouts that danced with life. Each ingredient echoed her resolve, a testament to her journey from fear to empowerment. She imagined how it would feel to serve it to the gang members, to shove the vibrant spirit of La Bella Vita into their faces. With every order that flew from the kitchen, she felt less like a target and more like an artist. The power of creation flowed through her, merging with the urgency of the moment. Yet, even as she found solace in the routine of her craft, the impending threat lingered just outside the restaurant's walls. As the clock ticked toward the pivotal hour, she caught glimpses of Giovanni strategizing with his trusted staff. There was a quiet confidence in him that anchored her. He had faced chaos before, and while the air crackled with impending violence, she could see the determination etched into the lines of his face. When the dinner rush reached its peak, the atmosphere thickened, an unsettling blend of excitement and dread. With every plated dish, she felt the support of her colleagues, a unifying force in a time of peril. The bustling restaurant was a refuge, a fortress against the shadows that threatened to breach their sanctuary. But as the evening progressed, the door swung open and with it came the chill of a violent presence. 3 men stormed in, their hardened demeanors a stark contrast to the warmth of the restaurant. Emily froze momentarily, the sight of them sending an icy dagger through her newfound courage. The chatter faded, replaced by a tense silence, a collective inhalation of fear. Giovanni stepped forward, a lion ready to defend his pride, his gaze steady and unyielding. "You don't belong here," he warned, his voice a low growl drawn straight from the depths of his authority. Emily felt the shift in the air, it was a pivotal moment where the duality of her existence collided. Standing beside Giovanni in that moment, she felt a surge of bravery coursing through her veins. What would she do now? The echo of her past merged with the urgency of the present. She had to act, to confront whatever fear lurked in the hearts of those men. Would this courageous resolve translate into a show of strength? The standoff between them could alter the course of her life. As she grasped the edge of the counter, the fate of not just La Bella Vita but her own destiny dangled precariously before her. Would she lean into her newfound strength or allow fear to silence her? With a swift glance at Giovanni, she knew what she had to do. This was her moment, the very one that would define who she was becoming. The challenges ahead seemed insurmountable, yet the storm had arrived, and she was ready to embrace it. Emily's pulse thundered in her ears, drowning out the chaos around her. The energy in the restaurant had shifted imperceptibly, shifting from one of joy to a tension so thick it felt suffocating. She clutched the edge of the counter, grounding herself with the warm wooden surface. The distant clang of pots was a reminder of her craft, yet the looming presence of the men before her demanded immediate attention. As the men surveyed the restaurant, their eyes sweeping across patrons who momentarily held their breath, Emily felt a spark of something fierce and rebellious flare to life within her. She had always found refuge in her art, a sanctuary where creativity thrived without fear. But now, that sanctuary was threatened. Would she let it be taken from her? Giovanni stood defiantly in front of them, a picture of unyielding strength. For a heartbeat, she admired him, the leadership in his posture, the way his presence commanded respect. Could she reflect even a fraction of that power? As uncertainty gripped her, a realization dawned: confronting fear wasn't just about overcoming it, it was about growing into her own power, letting it transform her. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, breaking away from the safety of her workstation. The action felt impulsive yet calculated, a fierce statement that she refused to be a mere observer anymore. The men shifted, their focus now darting toward her. She was no longer hiding behind the warmth of her stove or the reassuring sound of simmering broth, she was standing up, both literally and figuratively, to her own life. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice steady and unyielding despite the war that raged within. Her heart pounded, but instead of retreating, she felt an unexpected thrill at confronting them head-on. Each word she spoke fortified her resolve. Here was her moment to reshape the narrative, to take the chance she never believed she could confront. Giovanni glanced at her, understanding twinkling in his eyes. He recognized her strength as it awakened, the potential within her that had long been dormant. That single moment of connection with him fueled the fire inside. This was not just about fear anymore, this was about empowerment. As the gang members exchanged glances filled with contempt, Emily saw their bravado begin to wane. "You think you can just come in here and intimidate us?" she continued, gaining momentum. "You don't know who you're dealing with. The realization that she was in control shifted her emboldened thoughts. They may think they had descended on La Bella Vita as conquerors, but they had awakened something, a fight within her that longed to emerge. She could feel her identity solidifying, the chef, the artist, the woman who would not stand down. Giovanni gave her a nod, a subtle sign of approval that sent a warm wave surging through her. She was not alone, even in this climactic moment. She reminded herself of her skills, her passion for cooking, and her commitment to a life beyond fear. Suddenly, one of the men shouted something inaudible, his frustration morphing into rage. Emily narrowed her focus on him. This restaurant is a lifeline for people. You can either walk out peacefully or we can show you how strong we really are. Something inside her had clicked, the realization that true strength lay not in the absence of fear but the ability to stand resolute despite it. With every beat of her heart, Emily felt more anchored in her authenticity. She was not just defending La Bella Vita, she was embodying it. As the tension continued to escalate, she braced for what was to come, knowing that her actions in this moment could reshape her future, but also define the kind of woman she was. When the men took a threatening step closer, the question loomed larger than ever: would their fear turn into desperation, or would her boldness ignite a fierce fight for their integrity? The next moment hung in the balance, and then an explosion. The door banged open again, and through the entrance strode an unexpected figure, a connection from her past, someone who would change everything. Emily's heart raced, the familiar rhythm now colliding with the exhilaration of surprise. As the doorway swung wide, a figure emerged clad in a tailored suit with an air of confidence that seemed to fill the room like the scent of simmering garlic and herbs. It was Marco, her former mentor and renowned chef, someone she thought had drifted out of her life for good. The atmosphere thickened with uncertainty. The men turned, momentarily caught off guard. "Marco!" she exclaimed, the name spilling from her lips like a prayer. His sudden presence pierced through the tension enveloping the restaurant, an electric shock jolting her awareness. "Emily," he said, his voice a low rumble, eyes surveying the unsettling scene. "I heard there was trouble." In that moment, something fundamental shifted within her. Marco had been the embodiment of her culinary aspirations, the one who pushed her to explore her identity in both the kitchen and beyond. His confidence reawakened echoes of her own conviction, ones she'd just begun to understand. This was not merely an intrusion, it was the opportunity for something transformative. "Are you here to help?" Her question rang out, raw with urgency. The escalating tension demanded clarity. She needed reassurance not only for herself but for those around her. This wasn't just about standing up against aggression, it was defining her purpose. Without breaking eye contact with the gang, Marco nodded. "We're going to show them what it means to mess with the wrong people." His posture remained unyielding and resolute. As he moved towards her, shadows of fear diminished, and the raw energy in the room shifted. "What do we do?" Emily found herself asking, craving his strategic insight. It was as if Marco unlocked a hidden door in her mind, allowing her to summon untapped creativity and resilience. The moment felt pivotal. She could either cower with fear or harness the energy radiating from this unexpected ally. He stepped closer, their bodies now aligned with a shared purpose. "We fight back not just with strength but with intent. You're not just a chef, you're part of this establishment's heart. Let us show them what La Bella Vita means." His words ignited a determination in Emily, and suddenly, she sensed the full weight of her responsibility. They weren't just defending a restaurant, they were nurturing a culture, one built on passion and community that she had spent years developing. "Right," she breathed, steeling herself, "I know the kitchen like the back of my hand, but it's time to bring that energy out here." Looking to the angry men, she felt a shiver of defiance coursing through her. As the gang members squared up, their contempt morphing into palpable uncertainty, Emily recalled all the times she had stood at that kitchen counter, crafting magic with every carefully chosen ingredient. This was her moment to channel that artistry into a greater cause. "Together," Marco said firmly, and she could see the pride in his eyes. This was a bridge reconnecting her with her aspirations, solidifying her identity. With one last look exchanged, they both turned toward the men, ready to confront whatever storm awaited. The gang members shifted uneasily, aware that the dynamics had shifted. In Marco's presence, Emily's resolve coalesced into something actionable. The sense of helplessness washed away, replaced by purposeful creativity and an instinct to protect. But just as they braced to counter the threat, Emily caught a glimmer of something in the corner of her eye, a flicker of movement at the entrance. Her heart dropped as uncertainty kicked back in. Was there another danger approaching? A decision loomed: should she focus on the threats before her, or confront whatever else had come through that door? The kitchen was her domain, but the boundaries had once again blurred, inviting unforeseen complexities into her newfound purpose. As her breath caught and time froze, she thought, maybe the catalyst for change would come from the most unexpected places. The next challenge, whoever or whatever it might be, awaited just beyond the threshold, ready to test the very foundation of what she now stood to defend. The moment hung in the air, taut with unspoken tensions, as Emily's focus shifted from the aggressive men to the subtle motion at the entrance. A shadow loomed larger, stepping into the dim light of the restaurant. It was a man, tall and broad-shouldered, with a wild grin that danced across his face. Her instinct battled against her curiosity. Who was he? And why did her pulse quicken even further at the sight? As he stepped closer, she caught the glint of a knife tucked into his belt, and instinctively, her heart sank. Was he with the gang? Or was he a new threat altogether? Her mind raced, a whirlwind of strategies spanning from confrontation to retreat playing out in rapid succession. Then out of nowhere, a sudden realization struck her: this was a test, a gnarled knot of uncertainty tangled with opportunity. Before she could fully process it, Marco stepped forward, asserting his presence. "You're in the wrong place," he said, his voice calm yet unwavering. He stood like a wall, protective yet inviting. The gang members seemed to hesitate, clearly unsettled by this unexpected turn of events. "Who are you?" the newcomer asked, crossing his arms defiantly. Emily noted the dangerous glimmer in his eyes. This was more than bravado, it was a challenge. "I'm Marco, and I've come to help," Marco replied, and Emily caught the edge of something deeper in his tone, authority mingled with a hint of warning. With a flash, Emily felt the weight of Marco's expectations settle on her shoulders. She was poised on the brink of a transformation. It was one thing to be a chef teaching others about flavor and technique, but this was a different kitchen, one where each element represented more than food. It embodied resilience, purpose, and community. The stranger tilted his head, his gaze shifting between Marco and Emily. "Help against who?" He gestured dismissively to the gang. "Are we supposed to believe you can scare this lot away?" "You," he pointed to Emily. "What do you know about fighting?" There it was, the needle-sticking edge of self-doubt struggling to anchor her, but this was not the time to falter. She stepped forward, her voice steady. "I know how to create, nurture, and defend what matters." Each word was not merely crafted, it was a declaration. She could feel fire building in her chest, the essence of every dish she had created flooding her senses, amplifying her resolve. Marco nodded, clearly proud of her newfound assertiveness. "And she knows how to bring people together," he added. "You think you're here to intimidate? We're here to show you the strength of community." The tension was palpable, every breath held, every heartbeat thudding like a war drum. The gang members shifted, uncertainty palpable in the air around them. "What if we drop the theatrics?" the grinning newcomer said, stepping closer, his swagger replaced with something sharper. "Prove to me you're not just talk." Emily's heart raced. This confrontation demanded creativity, her culinary instincts now merging with the uncertainty of her new reality. What could she do? Then it hit her, her experiences in the kitchen weren't just about ingredients, they were about balance. "Fine," she said, locking eyes with the newcomer, determination clear as day. "You want proof? How about a challenge, a cook-off?" Marco's brow raised in surprise, but there was a gleam in his eye indicating approval. The gang members exchanged glances, unsure of how to react, while the newcomer leaned closer, interested. "Cook-off. What's at stake?" he asked. She took a breath, realizing this was a chance to cement her purpose, to not only defend the restaurant but to stake her claim in this unfamiliar world. "If I win, you leave and don't come back. If you win, you can have this place." Several seconds felt like hours as all eyes remained trained on her, awaiting the reactions. This was her moment to channel everything within her, the fire of culinary passion converging with the fight for her establishment's very soul. Silence engulfed the room, heavy with anticipation and uncertainty, as she awaited the answer that would dictate the course of her journey forward, one that would either solidify her newfound identity or force her to reclaim it once more. The tension scratched like a match igniting, and somewhere in that darkness, Emily felt something shake loose. A primal urge to rise to the occasion. Was whispering, or was it a roar? A choice awaited, and the stakes were heightened significantly. This was no longer just about survival, it was about claiming her identity with everything she had. A murmur rippled through the gang like a whisper of wind through the trees, their faces painted with uncertainty. Emily stood anchored at the center, her heart thundering, a mixture of fear fused with a combustible excitement she had never experienced before. The stranger's gaze held her captive as the decision lingered in the air like smoke, waiting to settle. "Fine," the newcomer said, a sly smile curling at the corners of his mouth. "A cook-off it is." His words were leveled, a match striking her bravado into flame. "But let's make it interesting. Let's add an ingredient that'll showcase your skills." "Go on," Emily challenged, the fire of enthusiasm urged her forward, igniting sparks of confidence. "I want you to cook with whatever ingredient we decide. Something unique." An inner tremor skittered through Emily, and her mind spun with possibilities. Unique? She felt disconnected momentarily, already weighing her options, then resolved to take control of the situation. "Fine," she said, trying to mask the chill creeping into her voice. "What do you have in mind?" He cocked his head, savoring his position of authority, testing her resolve. "How about rabbit? It's not the easiest to cook, and certainly not the first choice for everyone." The thought of rabbit registered before her. It was not far removed from her culinary repertoire, something she had prepared in various forms. Yet, standing here, now, before a man who exuded menace, the preparation seemed heavier. But she rallied. "And you? What will you bring to the table?" "Let's say whatever strikes my fancy," he replied. He shrugged, perfectly at ease, playing a game she had not anticipated but was now eager to enter. As she grabbed a pad to sketch her plan, the kitchen's layout flooded her thoughts, the right tools, the ingredients she could collect, and the flavors she wanted to evoke in each dish. A strategic lockdown on her approach had begun. In the confines of her mind, everything else faded. This wasn't merely cooking anymore. It was her own canvas, waiting for vibrant strokes of creativity. On the other hand, a deeper anxiety lurked beneath her fervor. Would the ingredients she chose convey the right message? It wasn't just about flavor alone. She needed to elevate the dish into something profound that showcased not only her skill but the heart of her restaurant. "No hit-and-run concepts," Marco whispered, a subtle nudge in her thoughts. They were allies now, and his presence grounded her, giving her the boost she desperately needed. Inside her mind, she breathed deeply, focusing on the task ahead. The complexity of rabbit, the right saucing, the balance between savory and delicate, it was a challenge she felt ready to tackle. With every moment she spent envisioning her approach, she felt her own skill set revealing hidden nuances. Perhaps her culinary knowledge surpassed mere technique, perhaps it held the power to sway hearts and minds. With new clarity emerging, she turned, scanning the room. "Let's set some ground rules. We'll both have 30 minutes to create a dish that uses rabbit, along with 2 other surprise ingredients we each must choose from what's available in the kitchen." "Deal," he replied, momentarily dumbstruck by her initiative. The gang members huddled, whispering amongst themselves, and Marco leaned closer. "You've got this, Em. Your vision can change the course of this game. As they prepared, Emily's confidence grew with every step she took, not only navigating the kitchen but also in her ability to trust her instincts. Faces swirled in her mind, patrons who once loved what she had brought to them. Their joy infused her drive. This was about more than just a restaurant now. It was about her purpose, her narrative. The pressure mounted as the clock ticked down, ticking aside the monstrous figures of her challengers, igniting a ferocity she hadn't realized was part of her. She could see glimpses of her capabilities, visions of plating the dish and revealing something unfiltered and beautiful. But in the silence, doubt crashed like a wave, a temptation to shrink back. Just as it had so many times before. How would they see her? What if she failed? 10 seconds, Marco called, and the adrenaline blended deliciously with her fear, giving her a high she hadn't expected. This moment was hers to seize. The timer signaled the end, and with the weight of that commitment behind her, she plated her creation, revealing culinary poetry that screamed for attention. Applause? Approval? Or condemnation? The next moment dawned, silently demanding her to face the repercussions of her fearless bet, and her heart raced not from uncertainty, but from raw anticipation. What awaited her now was not just a test of skill but a confrontation with everything she had built within these walls. As the knives were drawn and the plates presented, could she really claim her identity, or would the weight of defeat crush her newfound flame? The air thickened, and it was time to see if she could transform this uncertainty into a triumph against the odds. The tension in the air was palpable, every eye locked onto the plates that captured not only ingredients but the very essence of Emily's culinary journey. As her heart raced, she recognized this moment as a leap into the unknown, a culmination of her fears and desires converging on a single point. It wasn't just about the food, it was about proving to herself that she belonged in this world. With a deep breath, she flicked her gaze from one dish to another. Her opponent's plate glimmered with ostentation, an explosion of colors and textures that implied mastery but felt more like a distraction. Was this a mere spectacle? Or could it convey the depth of flavor she had worked so hard to hone? A trickle of doubt slithered through her, the seductive whisper of inadequacy nudged at her confidence. Yet beneath that doubt simmered something richer. A primal urge to break beyond the thresholds of expectation. In that moment, she reaffirmed her own artistic integrity. Driven by a newfound determination, Emily focused on her dish, the rabbit braised to perfection, adorned with a vibrant sauce of herbs, garlic, and hints of citrus that sang of the landscape of flavors she had always dreamed of showcasing. Each element had a narrative, each plate a confession of her evolution. "Let us hear what the judges think," the newcomer declared, his voice slicing through the kitchen's charged atmosphere. Emily's stomach twisted as she watched him pause at her creation, lips twitching as if to feign surprise. Their eyes locked briefly, and she caught a glimpse of something inscrutable in his expression, a hint of respect sparking amid the ruthless challenge. As they began to taste test, Emily leaned back, allowing herself the indulgence of observation. Marco's subtle nod of approval ignited a blaze within her, shifting her own focus as she steeled herself against the impending judgment. This wasn't only a fight for her culinary standing, it was a reclamation of her identity and narrative, a reminder that she was the architect of her own destiny. Bold choice with the acidity, but muddled in execution, one of the gang members muttered about her rival's entry, jolting Emily from her reverie. Their critical gaze now shifting toward her. As they sampled her dish, she felt her breath hitch, her thoughts cascading into an anxious whirlpool. Would they recognize her work for what it was? Would they see the heart behind the plating? With every forkful that traveled from silverware to mouth, the seconds stretched into eternity. She found herself contemplating the journey that led here, every late night in the kitchen, every failure that had stitched her resolve tighter. "Absolutely transformative," one of the judges finally said, a spark igniting into enthusiastic chatter among the onlookers. A wave of warmth rolled over Emily, stirring both a sense of pride and disbelief. Could she truly be on the brink of something extraordinary, something with the ability to shift perceptions in this raw environment? "Yes," Marco hissed under his breath, drawing Emily's attention. "This is your moment. They're captivated. With each bite they took, whispers stirred from their throats. Excitement and contentment mingled as Emily realized that the flames inside her were not merely a flight of fantasy, they were real, tangible, an indication of her growth through the culinary struggle. And as the competition neared its conclusion, a sobering realization hit her hard. Winning wasn't about defeating her opponent, it was about the fight within herself, acknowledging her worth in arenas where shadows often lingered. Whether she triumphed or fell behind, she was becoming unmistakably Emily, the chef, the artist, the individual unafraid to expose her vulnerabilities and showcase her creations. Just as the final thoughts bounced around the room, she caught the newcomer's gaze once more. This time, he seemed intrigued rather than dismissive, his demeanor shifting ever so slightly as if acknowledging the challenge she presented. "You've stepped up your game," he said, an almost genuine admiration reflected in his eyes. But I wonder. Before he could finish, the unexpected tension in his voice sent a ripple through her thoughts. What lay beyond this moment might be an even greater test, one with stakes that demanded she confront not just the world outside the kitchen but the tempest brewing within her own heart. What would it take for her to fully embrace this newfound identity? Would she navigate the shifting moralities of this cutthroat environment, or would she stumble into a trap woven with expectations and fear? The challenge ahead loomed, and she could feel the foundation of her journey trembling, stirring her spirit into yet another fight for her passion and future. Emily felt the adrenaline coursing through her veins as the judges continued to discuss her dish. Their softened critique was like music, but beneath their compliments lingered an unshakable pressure. She was teetering on the edge of a new chapter, each word enveloping her in a suffocating embrace of potential and peril. When the tasting ended, the buzz in the room intensified. Emily's stomach clenched at the thought of what would follow. A moment of triumph could quickly spiral into something disillusioning. She had seen it before: those who tasted success and then fell victim to their own hubris, their identities dismantled by the unforgiving flames of expectation. "You have vision," judged one of the older panel members, a culinary titan whose very presence radiated wisdom. The weight of his statement lingered in the air, and Emily felt her heart race. Vision was both a gift and a burden. What vision she possessed had driven her to this point, yet it hung like a noose, whispering relentless demands for authenticity. With newfound clarity, Emily surveyed the kitchen surroundings. Slicing through the self-doubt, a jagged resolve began to take shape. This wasn't simply about culinary competition, it was a gauntlet for her soul. A dog-eared part in her memory flashed, a moment long forgotten where her father had challenged her to pursue excellence over approbation. And now, standing at the crossroads, she knew she was ready to explore that pathway. As the judges deliberated, Emily's mind spiraled with questions of what would come next. The newcomer, with his ambivalent expression, treated her with a curious reverence. Not an enemy, not a friend, an equal perhaps. Yet despite the undercurrent of camaraderie, she felt a deep sense of unease. His admiration did not mean he would refrain from exploiting any vulnerability she displayed. The results were announced, their echoing syllables resonating inside Emily's chest. Victory was sweet, yet as she stepped forward to accept her fate, doubts unfurled, demanding acknowledgement. Battling unease, she envisioned each person she had encountered along her culinary journey, the adversaries she had learned to confront within, and the hesitation that had often stalked her like a specter. "Congratulations, Emily," one judge said, eyeing her keenly. The newcomer's gaze met hers again, this time devoid of the mask he had worn before. It was a flicker of recognition, a silent invitation to reconsider everything she believed about herself. "Are you ready?" he asked, his voice imbued with a challenging gravity. His words served as both a question and a proclamation, forcing Emily to confront the unyielding truth resting beneath their exchange. Could she embrace the weight of her identity? The pressure of being observed not as a mere competitor but as an emerging force within this culinary ghetto? The tension transformed with each tick of the clock. Would she sink under the weight of expectations, or would she rise, a phoenix from the culinary ashes? This moment was not merely an affirmation of her work, it was a test of character, questioning if she could maintain her authenticity amid external demands. "I'm just beginning," she replied tentatively, feeling each word shape her commitment to forge a path unblemished by fear. In that instant, she felt the pulse of opportunity beating in her chest, a siren ushering her toward the next leap. As conversations erupted around her, Emily turned back toward the newcomer arrival, an ally, and felt the call of the unknown wrap itself around her. Would she have the courage to delve deeper into her passion, to confront unspeakable adversities, or find herself ensnared by doubts so familiar they threatened to betray her? The time had come to face both her inner tumult and the challenges the culinary world would inevitably hurl at her. What would she discover by stepping fully into this arena? How would the choices she made shape her emerging identity as not only a chef but an artist unleashed from the confines of uncertainty? Determined, she met his gaze, ready to challenge the limitations that had plagued her. In that instant, she realized one thing echoed louder than the audience. The food had ignited a fire within her, and the true battle was just beginning. Emily stood tall, her heart audibly thudding against her ribcage as she embraced the outcome that awaited her. The judge's voice was a distant murmur now, all noise muted in the wake of her revelation. She was not merely a contestant in a cook-off but a woman stepping into her own narrative, one that had been stifled by fear and trauma. Never before had she felt so unequivocally seen. With each compliment bestowed by the judges, the weight of her past felt a little lighter. They spoke of her dish with respect, its harmonious blend of flavors and robust execution sending waves of validation through her. She had pushed herself to confront her fears and rise from the ashes of her vulnerability. "We have a winner," the head judge announced, his eyes gleaming with approval. The words resonated deep within her, mingling with the lingering fears of yesterday but slowly transforming them into whispers of empowerment. As the applause swelled around her, Emily felt a profound sense of clarity settle within her. Before this moment, the world outside the kitchen had often appeared daunting. Yet triumphing in this cook-off felt like snipping the strings of a puppet. She was no longer just a caregiver, she was both a chef and a force to reckon with. The gratitude and respect she witnessed reflected not only in her work but in the lives she touched through her culinary creations began to resonate with the fighting spirit she had nurtured within. Marco stood at the periphery of the crowd, pride illuminating his features. Their connection had not only rekindled her culinary aspirations but had served as a reminder of the unyielding resolve that lay dormant, a testament to her journey back to herself. Here, in this vibrant space, she had not only defended La Bella Vita but firmly planted her feet into the soil of her identity. The newcomer, an unexpected participant in her journey toward liberation, met her gaze. A glimmer of respect lay beneath his earlier bravado. Her challenge had not just opened a realm of competition, it had unfurled a canvas of possibilities, revealing the complexity of herself she had long suppressed. "You have strength, Emily," he acknowledged, his tone a mixture of awe and something candidly sincere. "You've demonstrated that compassion paired with courage can pierce through intimidation." In that moment, Emily understood the importance of vulnerability. The shadows that once loomed had transformed into a beacon of authenticity. She had manifested change through creativity, shaping her circumstances with resolve. Gone was the helpless nurse, embraced was the empowered chef who wielded her passion like a weapon against fear. As the cheers faded, a quiet contemplation enveloped her. Emily turned back to the kitchen, preparing to engage with the continued journey that awaited her. The restaurant was more than just brick and mortar, it was a sanctuary strengthened by the roots of resilience, nourished by love and care. The very essence of La Bella Vita had become an extension of herself, a place where artistic expression converged with courage and healing. The culmination of this evening had marked more than just a competition, it was a metamorphosis, driving her toward an unwavering dedication to her craft. She realized every dish prepared was a testament to her journey. She was no longer held captive by fear, she was free to explore her creative spirit without trepidation. As she stepped back into the bustling atmosphere, the realization of her growth settled deep within her. Emily was finally equipped with solid confidence. Each challenge she had faced became a stepping stone guiding her toward a recognized competence that needed no validation from outside sources. She was a chef with a vision, driven by an inner power that would define her from here on out. Are you ready for what's next? Marco inquired, a knowing smile gracing his lips. And the fire that pulsed within her was unmistakable. She would seek to embrace every challenge ahead with the same audacity that had brought her here, proving that she was more than a survivor. She was a warrior on the path of mastery as much in life as in the kitchen. The shadows had finally receded, and the taste of victory lingered sweetly on her tongue. Emily had reclaimed her life, transformed her vulnerabilities into a foundation for success, and was ready to conquer whatever awaited on the horizon. This was her new reality, a testament to her strength and resilience, and it was just the beginning. Now is your moment, dear viewer. You need to subscribe now to our channel and join us for more inspiring, exclusive emotional stories that will change your perspective on life. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm so we can keep bringing you the content that truly matters. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this powerful conclusion. Your support is vital, and only true fans like you understand the importance of uplifting stories of personal overcoming,